Good afternoon, Amador County. This is Supervisor John Plasse here to discuss what the agenda items for tomorrow's meeting will be. Tomorrow's meeting will be January 26, 2016, and a few of the board agenda items that we'll be discussing. Unlike most cases when I typically do not discuss anything that's on our closed session agenda, I'll touch on a few topics that are not in any way inappropriate to discuss, and that is last year the county was successful in bringing over to our Amador County Airport, or Westover Field, a new company to do all the airplane inspections and repair works and avionics works and all different types of aircraft repair. Mr. Jim Lewis from Airtronics Incorporated was previously located at the Calaveras County Airport. He was looking to expand. We were able to negotiate a amenable lease between the county and Mr. Lewis last year in the hopes that he would eventually, rather than just open a second operation here at Westover Field, would be able to move his full scope of operations here to Westover Field, and just to sort of expand the business footprint, if you will, at Westover Field. He has been successful in his endeavors to date and is requesting that the county allow him the opportunity to expand. We do have a few commercial hangars at the county airport up there, and all the leases in those hangars have a termination clause in those leases so that the county and or the tenant with a rather abbreviated time of notice can terminate the lease at any time. In this case, the county is being asked to exercise that termination clause for an existing tenant that is currently using one of those commercial hangars strictly for the storage of a personal aircraft, and thereby make that space available to the expanding business operations of Mr. Lewis and Airtronics Incorporated. So we'll have that discussion along with a number of the other items on our closed session agenda tomorrow. Labor negotiations, one thing, and the continuing effort for Amador County to be able to recover some of our costs incurred as a result of a lawsuit that was brought against the county by a very loose-knit and unidentified organization called the Pine Grove Business Alliance. You may recall during the proposal to issue a building permit for the Dollar General store in Pine Grove. We were sued on that. The county prevailed in court, were awarded damages, and now we're just trying to actually receive damages from those folks that were involved in the formation of and consummation of the lawsuit of the Pine Grove Business Alliance. So more to come on that. Our regular agenda will start off with a issue under our Community Development Agency. It is the improvement project scheduled for the intersection of Shenandoah Valley Road and Fiddletown Road. Most folks familiar with the area understand that intersection has had some difficulties functioning safely in the past. I believe there's been 14 accidents at that intersection over about the last 5 years time frame, one resulting in a fatality. The county worked in a cooperative agreement with the city of Plymouth to apply for what's called an HSIP grant. That's the Highway Safety Improvement Program grant. It's federal dollars. Along with that grant and federal dollars, like in any case, there are caveats attached to that, one being that the improvements have to be designed to highway standard improvements, and so with a realignment of that intersection, a changing of the grade profiles there, as well as the arc of the curve at that intersection, has to be designed to highway safety standards, which incorporate a 55-mile-an-hour speed design for that curve. It doesn't mean that the speed limit has to be set at that, but that has to be the design standard for the curve. We'll be reviewing the initial study and mitigated negative declaration. That is a CEQA document that addresses any environmental impacts that are a result of our redesign of that intersection, and proposes mitigation measures for those redesigns. We had several meetings starting in 2013, I believe, through May and June, and I believe Plymouth City Council had meetings on into July that provided the public an opportunity to weigh in on their proposed improvements for that intersection and their preferred designs. We had several of those meetings. This meeting has received a request to postpone our consideration of this item to a later date to allow more time for some members of the public to comment on their preference for design there. It will be my position as the board chair to either consider or deny a request for additional delays and postponing consideration of this agenda item. Given the ample public comment period that has been allowed for this project, I don't see my way clear, quite honestly, to postpone it any further. There are time schedules that have to be met with, again, with the providing of federal funding, and we've got to stay on a timeline there. Our basic task is to improve the safety functioning of that intersection. Are there other things in an ideal world that we might want to put into that highway design there? Absolutely. There's, you know, if one could have perfection and have the feds pay for it, that'd be a great opportunity, but that's not typically the case. So the board will consider this mitigated negative declaration and initial study document and the plans as presented, the preliminary plan for the design of that intersection. Again, that's been done several times in the past, but we will reconsider that again tomorrow and hopefully move forward from there. Next item on our agenda is the additional discussion regarding the proposal for the state of Jefferson or county endorsement of a state split. You may recall I discussed this item after our last meeting where the board had decided to put it to a vote of Amador County voters in an advisory vote capacity. We now have analysis from our staff, both on the ability and proposed wording for an advisory measure on the ballot, as well as some of the fiscal impacts that may result from a state split from California and into a separate state for the Northern California portion. One of those proposed language measures, and again, this is just proposed, we'll be considering a variety of options tomorrow, but it could read, should the Amador County Board of Supervisors adopt a resolution declaring support for a state split designed to allow counties in Northern California to form their own state. If you recall my discussion last week, that this is a proviso that is allowed under the federal Constitution, allowing for states to be split from larger states to form their own state. It is the proposal of those folks to consider that option, and the proposal of the Board of Supervisors to put that option before the Amador County voters and hear their wishes on that matter. After that, we'll be going on to another community development agency project, and that is the State Route Corridor Project, sometimes referred to as the Pine Grove Project. We're moving into the right-of-way and environmental document phase of that project, right-of-way acquisition and preliminary plans, specifications, and engineering. One of the components of that process is to recognize that anytime there's right-of-way acquisitions, there is the possibility of having to utilize eminent domain to acquire right-of-way for a highway project. Most of the property owners have been contacted on this project already and are in agreement with the designs of the project, but we have to, as the Board of Supervisors, declare whether Amador County will conduct the right-of-way acquisitions and eminent domain proceedings should they be necessary, or turn that authority over to Caltrans and the California Transportation Commission. So we'll be considering that tomorrow as well. Moving on from that, we'll have to also consider the creation of a Fiddletown Cemetery Committee. There is an old historic cemetery in Fiddletown that was originally transferred to the county from the township of Fiddletown some years back. The residents up there would like a little greater input on the care and control of that cemetery and the preservation of some of those historic grave sites and headstones and so forth, and are looking to form a committee very similar to what we have in other areas of the county. I believe Dry Town and Volcano both have cemetery committees of their own, so the adoption of that. And we will be coming back shortly, but right now we'll go to break and follow up with the remainder in just a moment. Thank you.